open area where there wasn't anyone living was a dump. You know, I was about to make E5 sergeant.
Yeah.
And they fly and they have all the countermeasures on it. Like, okay, we'd shoot those. We'd shoot, you know, SA-7s, SA-13. Like then I got to fire the Soviet equivalents.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I didn't know the military did that stuff. It's all children. Their parents are dead or these guys are here. They were pretty sure they'll live another day. And that, like, bam, you know, that hit me hard. I think I can do more. I think I can do more. You're going to see things or do things. Things are going to happen to you. They're going to be with you the rest of your life. People are going to ask you to do things that they think you can't do. Just do more.
Okay. Were you guys doing like any type of humanitarian stuff or just kind of making sure?
There was some of that. A lot of it was just like making sure that handoff was, but and I guess that's humanitarian in itself, ensuring that people got what they needed, that the populace wasn't, you know, subjugated or anything, you know.
There wasn't like roving cannibals and stuff like that, like we had recently.
I think the worst thing that happened while we were there was a tropical storm came by, and
while you were there,
and true to military fashion, the compound that we stayed at was, this is crazy, and I'm not diming anybody out if they happen to be decision makers at this point, but they were trying to find a space for us because we were occupying tents and we were in these little. And they're like, we need to build like a space for us. Yeah. So no crap, man. I was part of like the security detail that was going in. They found the only open area where there wasn't anyone living was a dump. Like, I mean, a dump.
Oh, God.
Like trash, like a dump.
Yeah.
And this is Haiti now. So it's
like a third world country dump.
A third world country
dump. Worse than American dump.
Yeah. So imagine the nastiest dump you can imagine, and then multiply that a few times. Jesus. And just they brought in dirt, filled it in, flattened it out, and that's where they put us.
Oh my God.
It was disgusting. So when the tropical storm came,
oh no, it flooded out and all this stuff came up.
It was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we so many of us were sick. So many of us were like, it was just,
I can't imagine.
It was pretty nasty.
The infirmary and like the aid areas were probably just overflowing. I mean,
and not everyone was there. It was like the 10th Mountain guys that I was with, but some guys got to stay on, the airfield and then some other compounds that were more, but I was part of the group that got put at the dump.
Oh man. Did you get sick while you were there?
I did. Yeah. It was almost like common, like at least once a month, you'd be like, oh man.
Everybody got like VGE or something.
Yeah.
Just
something, some type of
coming out of both ends.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
It was good time. So I'm not diming anybody out, but
it's history. It is what it is, man. It happens.
It is.
So you did the Port-au-Prince, the Haiti deployment, and you came back from there. Were you still with 10th Mountain when you got back?
Yeah, I was still.
How much longer did you have with 10th Mountain?
So I had another year and a half. So I was there till about 96. And so my first two deployments, I always saw Green Berets, right? I would see them and I'm like, oh, there they are. They weren't wearing all the crap we were wearing. And I remember the team I ran into or saw, I didn't talk to them.
Yeah.
In Somalia, they had a pet monkey. And as a young 18-year-old on deployment, they had a monkey with them. Like riding the Humvees with them. And I would see them with this monkey and I'm like, they didn't just get it. Yeah, they would just hang out with them. And I was like, man, all the more reason to be a Green Beret. Like, dude,
cool,
they got
man. I want a pet monkey.
so I would see them. And then, so at that point in my career, I was, I was about to make E5 sergeant and I was like, okay, maybe I can put in my packet to go to selection. Yeah. But toward that point, I had just got married to my first wife and we were expecting a child. I'm like, well, I wanted, La Familia is just like, all right, well, I'm about to have a baby. Let me just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But I had a PCS. So I said, well, maybe, and then, everyone has that, I think everyone does, but has that, like, after your first enlistment, do I want to do this forever? Yeah. Or do I want to, so let me try something. So I got stationed at White Sands Missile Range. And what I did when I got sent to White Sands after Drum was as an air defense, like a Stinger guy, I just went out to one of the launch complexes, worked for Raytheon. All the scientists were testing everything, all the countermeasures and the new upgrades. And I just fired Stingers. That was all I did.
Just firing Stingers.
I would sit up there and they'd set it up and I, would fire, like they would bring in, sometimes they would have a drone like F4s from Holloman Air Force Base, like real aircraft. Yeah. And they fly and they have all the countermeasures on it. Like, okay, we'd shoot those. We'd shoot, SA-7s, SA-13. Like then I got to fire the Soviet equivalents.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So it was cool, but I was like, and I was close to home. because I'm from southern New Mexico.
Yeah.
But that's when I realized, I started thinking a lot about my first 2 deployments. And it was my first deployment when I was in Somalia and doing the humanitarian stuff, right? I didn't know the military did that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know we provided that. And, I remember the first time I got to Baidoa with the food, you get to this camp, if you can imagine, anyone can imagine, and it's all children. Their parents are dead or died of HIV AIDS or in some of the kind of the wars that were going on there in the tribal wars.
Yeah, they're just displaced.
And you see these children get up in textbook famine, right? Distended bellies, no hair, some hair, missing teeth, malnutrition, severely malnutritioned. They'd see us coming and you'd see these like droves, hundreds sometimes. Kids, you see them in these little tarp buildings, tents huddled together, getting up. And these are children, like, I'm not exaggerating, like living moment to moment, right? That's oppression. Yeah. That I've seen like how bad people can be to each other. Yeah. And they would come up, and I'm an 18-year-old, right? I joined the army, like, oh, I'm going to, remember I said Rambo and all that, right? Yeah, yeah. And I see to this date, I've never seen anything more beautiful than this, but these children, these humans living moment to moment, but those are the most beautiful smiles I ever saw. Right? Like joy, like hope. They had hope. Right? That, okay, these guys are here. They were pretty sure they'll live another day. Yeah. And that, like, bam, that hit me hard. Yeah. And that's where I was like, man, I want to do this the rest of my life. It was in that moment you realized? Yeah. Yeah. So I would always reflect back on that moment as I was at White Sands doing I was working like 9 to 2. I was off here there Friday. Yeah. It was just, and I was at home and my son was born at this point, my oldest. And I was like, nah, I need to do more. So then I put in my PEC to go to selection shortly after. Most people don't get that experience in America because you just don't get the exposure to it other than if you're seeing it on the internet, that kind of an experience. I don't know how that wouldn't change your perspective on life, and I've seen some people that are suffering from hardship in other countries as well. Like just, in my brief period in the Middle East, which I didn't go into the Middle East until 2023, there's different things happening there at that point than it was during the other parts of the GWOT. But, when you look at like how hard some people have it in some of those countries, it makes you think, wow, it's like the people that are having a hard time in America are, would be like living like the middle class in some of those places, which is, it's hard to wrap your head around because we don't have that kind of thing happening here in America. And it definitely puts things in perspective for you, especially, like you said, seeing a bunch of children who were displaced. Their parents might've been, they might have lost their parents or maybe they were displaced from their home due to war. A lot of child soldiering stuff happening in countries like that because there's just no hope. There's no food. There's no structure. There's no infrastructure. The government's like being ran by warlords, like you're saying. And there's real oppression, like you said, that people don't necessarily get exposure to here in the United States because we've got it so good here. We forget. It's easy to not know. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get exposed to it, it's hard to really wrap your head around like that, to understand like the real level of desperation that some people have because they're living in the muck, so I could see how that would impact me for sure, seeing something like that. And I can understand why you felt the way that you did. So that was like the thing that kind of kept you going even when you were in White Sands. And then when was it while you were in White Sands that you decided like, hey, I need to try to go to selection? I would say it's like right after the birth of my son. Okay. I brought him home, my first monster, right? My first monster one, yeah. And, monster one, yeah. And I would sit there and I look at him and, man, it's just, when I think about, he's a grown man with his own family and a soldier, right? So now, but I still see him as, it's just, I was like, okay, remember I said my father is my true north, right? That's the guy I want to be like. And I was thinking, to him, I go, am I setting the right example, right? Am I, I think I can do more. I think I can do more. And the reason I say do more is, or I say I need to do more. And so before I joined the Army, my father had this conversation with me, and I didn't understand the wisdom at this 17-year-old pendejo, right? Like I didn't know what he was telling me, right? I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 18, I was an idiot.
Yeah, when he finally decided, okay, mijo, I'll go ahead, so to let me enlist. He was like, I was like, Dad, I wrote something. We were having a conversation about me going, and he was like, okay, mijo, all right, I'll support you. He says, but there's something I want you to understand. He says, again, he served in Vietnam during the Tet Offensive.
During the Tet Offensive.
Oh, wow. His best friend growing up, his first cousin, my second cousin, is on the wall, and he's on the Vietnam Wall.
Really?
So there's different experiences for him. And he said, Mijo, look, you're gonna see things or do things, or things are gonna happen to you. They're gonna be with you the rest of your life. People are gonna ask you to do things that they think you can't do. Just do more. Whatever is asked of you, whatever's there, just do more. And I was like, okay, Dad, give him the North and the South. I didn't really understand what that meant until fast forward. The reason I bring that up now is because we're at this point in my career where it really hit me. So I was in selection, right? So it was right there. I put in my packet of selection for White Sands, and then I got, I trained up. I was trying to prepare for everything I do. Yeah. So I trained up, and I got there, and I remember there was a moment during individual week where we were on a ruck. And it's just like, all right, you're being timed, you're being assessed, follow the cones. You have no idea how far you're walking. You don't know if you're doing 4 miles, 12 miles, 20 miles. You don't know, but you're being assessed. Yeah. And then you got other guys there that are just like, oh, okay, well, do I race this guy? How do I pace myself? What is that? It's just testing you to like, okay, in an unknown scenario, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? Are you going to keep going? So I remember there was a moment I was there and I trained up. I mean, White Sands is like 4,800 foot elevation. I used to be a really, really good runner. I mean, I think my fastest 2 mile time, I was like a high 940 something. 940? Yeah, I was sub 10, man. I used to be really athletic.
That's wild.
So, I was always like one of the first guys to finish during a lot of the events. Yeah. But I remember this one day I was just like, oh my God, I was getting in my head. Like, do I need to do more? Do I need to do this? And I used to carry my son's sock in my BDU top. I had it balled up, so I would like rub it for as a reminder, like, okay,
you're doing it for this.
Yeah. But I was like, man, everyone has those moments of clarity where you're in a position of suck, right? You're like, why the hell am I here? I put myself here. What are you doing, bro? Come on.
I made decisions that I arrived here from.
So I was in that moment and I was just like, but then I heard my dad, just do more. Just do more. And then I just started focusing on what my dad said, and I was doing more steps, faster. And then I realized the beauty in that, and I reflected, because you need those moments, I don't say meditate, but if you think about something else, it kind of takes your mind. So I really started diving into what my father said on this endurance event, right? This unknown, this evolution of getting kicked in the throat, at selection. So I was thinking about it, and I realized my father, when I played sports, whatever it was, he never said, do your best. Said, okay, Mijo, good, do more. And we were really good. Like my soccer team growing up, we were the only ones ever to beat the Juarez team. So Juarez would come over, Juarez, Mexico. They had one team. They would send to El Paso and Las Cruces to just beat everybody, right?
Because they're just like ballers.
You think about Juarez, Juarez, Mexico, they got a big pool to draw from. So they got the best kids in this multi-million, all these millions of people that live there, and they'd send them north to just beat the Americans. And even then, I remember the time we beat them, no one had ever beat them. My father said, oh, that's great. Just do more next time. And I'm like, okay, Dad, do more. So back to that selection, I realized the wisdom of what my father was sharing me that fell short my entire life until, my early 20s. And if you say do your best, what's your best? What is your best? If you say you're doing your best, then that's a self-imposed limitation we have placed. Because how do I know your best? I don't know your best. Yeah. If you say you do your best, then you said you did your best. But do you know your best? I don't think any of us ever know our best.
I certainly don't.
You see what I mean? So then I started thinking about that. And I'm like, holy crap, that's what it means. Just do more. Take one more step. Whatever it is that you do, just do more. Yeah. So then, I kind of jumped ahead, but that's I wanted to do more for my son because I thought about, I need to do more for him. But even then, by me saying that, because I always heard my dad say that, I didn't know what it meant until I started doing it. And I was in a position where I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Right. We're all in those positions where there's almost clarity where things suck. Like, I want to tap out, dude. Why am I here?
Yeah.
But I reflected again back to other situations where, particularly in combat, you can't tap out because those to your left and right are depending on you. There's no tapping out. There's always doing more.
Yeah.
In combat. Always. And as a young private, I remember there was a scenario where I saw a leader pretend to know something they thought they knew, and that resulted in the loss of life. And he wasn't doing more. He was just allowing his own personal ego and opinions and feelings and get in the way of stuff. And he wasn't doing more. He was hiding. So anyway, all of that factored into me that. And it was in that moment where my father, right, is a laborer's entire life. He graduated high school, served our nation. I mean, he played football in high school, didn't have shoes, right? Like, that's the family I come from.
Yeah.
And, I'm proud of that. I'm very proud that, we're from, very, very modest family. Don't have a lot, but I'm proud of that. And it was that wisdom that man shared with me that I still carry today.